Welcome back, good people of a great nation. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this midweek edition of This Morning on ITV. The segment is known as Development Focus with JIDE on ITV. It comes your way every Wednesday, and we are talking development issues here. My second guest on the show this morning is a legal luminary. Is also someone who is a development expert, and here I'm talking about the head of office of Open Society Initiative for West Africa, Mr. Jude Ilo. You are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, welcome once again. We want to pick your thoughts on the role of development partners in national development, in deepening democracy, in the Nigerian project. Quite a number. We have perhaps hundreds of thousands of civil society organizations. We possibly have over 100 development agencies operating in Nigeria. But not many people know the role these organizations are playing. You happen to head one of them, which is Open Society Initiative for West Africa. But before we go into talking about development partners, can the viewers get to meet you, who you are, what you do, and your trajectory, your career trajectory over time?
Okay, thank you very much, Jide. I think you finished the introduction.
No, I didn't finish it. Perhaps there is a lot more that I have not mentioned.
No, I mean, I'm a lawyer by training. Started working in the sector since 2003. I started off at the Human Rights Law Service, Huri Laws in Lagos, with Olisa Bakoba.
SAN.
SAN, yes. So that was where I started. And then went on to work for the Nigerian Bar Association, helping to establish the programs department of the Nigerian Bar Association in 2006. 2008, I joined the Forum of Federations, which is a global platform for promoting federal practices across the globe. And I helped set up the office here in Nigeria, managed the operations here in Nigeria for 2 years, after which I then joined the Open Society Initiative for West Africa. And in 2013, became the head of the Nigeria office. I think over the years, the recurring theme for me in all the work I've done is the need to put agency in the hands of citizens, so that citizens are able to decide the kind of government they want, the kind of projects they want, and the kind of leadership they want. And I think that has been a major struggle over the years, because there are two attributes to having an empowered citizen. First, you have to have an enlightened citizen, and then you have to have an empowered citizen. The enlightenment has been a challenge, because people have different understanding of what government or what democracy means for them. And then taking that conception to action has also been a challenge. So for me, that's the work. Being able to get people to understand how government works, and being able to get them to organize to determine how government works. That has been the lifelong work. Okay.
Maybe the aspect I didn't mention earlier is that you are a prince from Enugu State. Anyway, I think people should know that anyway. You are a prince. Okay. Now, the first salvo, development partners. We have hundreds of them operating in Nigeria. What's your assessment of these people who provide funding support to Nigerian civil society?
Let me take a step back, because there's been a lot of conversation about what role development partners should play in national development.
Exactly.
I recall that there is the Paris Principles, which try to stress the elements of collaboration, accountability, and transparency. And what this essentially means is that development partners will have to work within the framework of national development. So you don't just walk in and think, I know what the problem is, I want to do it my way. So
you can't come with your own mindset.
Exactly. So the principle try to push the argument, or rather establish the notion that it has to be collaborative, between what the development partners are doing and what the government wants. And transparency involves that if you're bringing resources into a country for which is in the service of that country, people should know about those resources, and you owe people some level of accountability. So this is what I did with the resources that I'm bringing into your country. And that principle was further elaborated in Accra some years back, again stressing the need for collaborative approach to development, which is a conversation between the development partners and the country where they're working. But again, reality is that there's some assumptions behind this principle. And the assumption is that both the government and the development partners want the best for the country. The assumption is that both the government and development partners are working for the best interests of citizens. And of course, development support is not targeted just at the state. Development support is targeted at the people, because the people are actually the state. Sovereignty, of course, belongs to the people.
Sure.
Now, when you have the conflict, the value conflict between what the state is interested in and what development partners believe in, we begin to have this friction. And that's where collaboration and conversations are oftentimes very important. And so in our own case, we are interested in investing in the agency of citizens so that the citizens can determine the kind of government they want. So the citizens can determine the kind of development they want. And of course, seeing what happens in social media and everywhere, you can see the conflict that when development partners oftentimes support citizens' movement or support citizens' action, government interprets that as the development partners trying to undermine the integrity or the sovereignty of the country. And when the development partner is supporting activities of government, and the citizens are not seeing the benefit, or for instance, you're supporting the police and police are killing people, the development partner is then accused of supporting an autocratic government that is destroying the people. So you are expected to walk a very fine line in finding the balance between what the people need and what the government is interested in doing. And that has been the story of our support over the years, finding that balance. So we tell ourselves that we try to get citizens to ask the right kind of questions and support government to provide the right kind of answers. So that's how we as Osiwa now are able to walk that fine line. But a whole lot of other development partners have a different approach to all of this. Some will insist in just working within the government agenda. Some others are progressive or activist enough to fund programs that government may not agree with. I would do that if I think it is the best interest of the country. But all of that is the mix. What is missing is enough communications to the larger Nigerians about what these things mean in terms of practical project support, grants, and all of that.
Okay, so let's take a back step and talk about George Soros. I think George Soros established Open Society Initiative for West Africa, as well as Open Society Justice Initiative for OSG. What's the collaboration? Walk us through what George Soros Foundation do globally, and then in Nigeria, how long have you been here? What impact have you been able to make?
Useful to also understand the history of George Soros. George Soros was a Hungarian Jew.
Hungarian Jew?
Yes.
Okay.
Was already a young boy during the Holocaust. And then managed, with the help of some friends, to escape, Hungary, when a lot of Jews were killed and a lot of them were taken to concentration camp. And I think that experience has informed his outlook to life. So when he went to the UK, went to the university, started making money, he made it a lifelong passion of his to support the creation of open society, which simply means a society where citizens are supreme, a society where citizens are able to hold their leaders accountable, a society where nobody is discriminated against because of who they are, where they are coming from, or their religion, or whatever they are. So that has been his lifelong commitment. You know, creating a government, or rather supporting governments that speak to the needs of the people, that are responsive and respect fundamental rights. Because he knew what happened in Hungary could only happen because there was no respect for the rule of law. You know, so that's the philosophy. And he started providing that support, and of course it expanded into the Open Society Foundations with presence in more than 50 countries across the globe, and funding everything and anything, you know, climate justice, economic governance issue, elections, and the rest of it. So the Open Society Foundation is about supporting open societies. It's about creating the space for accountable democracy, about creating the space for citizens' voices to be amplified, so that sovereignty indeed should lie with citizens. But for that to be useful, you also need to have enlightened citizens who understand what is good for them, who understand the values that should guide governance. And so that's what OSF is all about. That's what they've been doing across the world.
So how long has Open Society Initiative for West Africa been in Nigeria?
We've been here since 2000, roughly. Yes.
But you have been at the helm of affairs in the last
since 2013.
2013.
Yes.
That's about 8 years
Now.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's been a long time, but you have been very impactful. I see your footprints and handprints everywhere. Now, walk us through what kind of support have you given to civil society organization, and what impact has that made in the life of the country?
Okay, so I will leave the question of impact for others because I'm already biased.
You don't
I'm
want
already
to be
biased.
in your
Yes,
own case. Okay.
I'm already biased, but it is important. So we don't just give funds. There are certain
criteria.
Not just criteria. There are certain principles that guide the way we approach funding. One is about building the field, and that is ensuring that as many credible voices that are out there pushing for good governance, pushing for accountability, pushing for democracy, are supported to be sustainable. So we provide a lot of support to new organizations. We provide support to new ideas, and we provide support to groups that ordinarily may not fit the mold of traditional NGOs. And we think that approach to grant making allows for a much more robust and strong ecosystem where a lot of people can come into the field and are given the needed support to be impactful. And I think in that score, we pride ourselves of having been instrumental in the establishment of a lot of credible, impactful organizations across the country who perhaps without that support may have struggled a bit much longer to find their footing. So that's one of the kind of things we do. The second thing we look for is the idea of innovation. People who are bringing catalytic ideas. Ideas that, yes, they are small, but are able to light some fire and spread across. So, for instance, that was the philosophy behind our initial relationship with Brekete radio program. Because at the time, yes, as at the time we started working with them, they had no funding whatsoever. They knew nothing about development partner support. But we felt that what they were doing was catalytic. It was innovative, it was catalytic, it was homegrown. And it was something that needed amplification. And we went in and put our resources there. So we look for ideas that are sometimes risky. When I mean risky is that untested ideas that, you know, may or may not work. But we believe that investing in those kind of ideas, mistakes actually are a form of learning that helps the sector to understand better, make adjustment, and improve the kind of work that they do.
Yeah, I know you also support access to justice and all of that.
Yes.
So now, how has that panned out in Nigerian context? The issue of access to justice. I mean, your predecessor on this show was talking of social injustice being part of the rationale behind the festering of Southern Kaduna crisis. And so people feel that, and you see what's playing out in the Southeast where you come from, issues of killing of police and burning of police stations. It will seem that we are not yet out of NSAS protest and all of that. And people are saying, it's about issue of rebellion, it's about lack of access to justice. So what kind of, in your support for access to justice, how has it been?
First, we have to acknowledge the fact that here we make 2 steps forward and we make 5 steps, we take 5 steps backwards. And it needs to be clear that governance and security is the sole responsibility of government. What we do and other development partners do is just to support. And so if you're providing that support without a concurrent commitment and leadership on the part of government, it is a waste of time. That's just the truth. So to your point, yes, we are seeing a lot of these things happening because, one, people are angry. Insecurity has become a problem. Security officers who abuse people's rights and manhandle people walk away scot-free. Government has refused to respect the message of NSAS protests, but rather is interested in castigating and undermining the credibility of the young Nigerians who try to push that movement. We have countless white paper and panel reports on reform of the security sector that have not been implemented, have not been utilized. We know of the number of SARS officers that were indicted that the Attorney General said he wasn't going to prosecute because there was no evidence. So it is a ridiculous situation. And so it makes the support and investment people are making in the sector, insignificant, because the fundamental essence or the fundamental push that is needed, which is the political leadership, has not been there. But having said that, you still see instances of small victories. Victories where, for instance, we support a computerization of state-level administrative of justice structures in a way that the police, the courts, the prisons can see what everybody's doing, and the instances of people's file missing or prisoners getting lost in the system, it's been reduced in a number of states. So you see those small victories. You see victories where you provide support to the judiciary, like when we worked with the NJI to provide training for judges on the freedom of information and related provisions. So small victories. You see that in instances where they do the solicitor scheme, where police stations have lawyers who are able to advise the police at the time of arrest of individuals. So those are small victories.
Did Osiwa have to also play a role in open government partnership that Nigeria signed?
Yes, we provided.
What kind of support?
We provided support to a number of Nigeria organizations who were involved in that process. Support around designing the framework. Support around participating in the negotiations and conversations that led to the establishment, of the partnership, and the advocacy that even pushed government, to accept to be part of it. But like I keep saying, you can do all of these things, but government has to take the lead because they are the custodian of political power and statutory power. What NGOs do what development partners do is just to help.
So do you have a synergy with other development partners working in Nigeria?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have a number of forums that we talk to each other.
And what do you say at such fora?
One is understand what people are doing so we don't duplicate effort needlessly. The second one is to identify key issues that require some level of concerted advocacy. And of course, the third one is to share information on what's going on. What are you hearing, in the area where you're working? Information on partners, so we know who we're working with, and all of that. Yes, so that platform has been very helpful.
So we are having 2023 elections. How crucial is election to you? I mean, in the change of leadership narratives. What's your assessment of Nigerian political landscape?
I'm worried. I'm very, very worried, because we oftentimes focus on election as in election day or the months and weeks leading up to the election. But if I've learned anything in this country, elections are won years before the actual election.
The casting of ballots.
Exactly. And so we need to take a step back and look at the structural inadequacies that make it impossible for elections to not be predictable.
Okay, so Southeast is engulfed in crisis similar to that of Northeast. We've started seeing a lot of killings of police officers and all of that. What do you think is the way forward, the way out of that?
It's not an isolated problem. What is happening in the Southeast is related to what is happening in the Northeast. It's related to what's happening in the Southwest. And that is a total breakdown of trust in the security architecture in this country, a total breakdown of trust in government, and the hemorrhaging of credibility by this government. So if we don't go back and deal with these fundamental issues, and we think that maybe by arresting people or proscribing people we're going to solve the problem, we're not going to solve any problem. So we need to go back and ask ourselves the question, why is it now possible for Nigerians to walk past a dead policeman without even blinking?
So, are you in support, 30 seconds, are you in support of Igbo presidency 2023?
I'm in support of credible presidency, and I'm in support of equitable democracy.
Okay, that's where we'll put a cap on it. I hope when I invite you another time you will
sure.
apply. Because we have not been able to really deal with, 30 minutes is not actually enough for us to do justice to all that we could say, particularly in terms of engagement of the development partners in Nigeria. Over the years, billions of dollars, billions of pounds have been invested in this country. Can we say we really have value for the money that has been spent? Anyway, that will be the size of our program this morning, Development Focus with JIDE Ojo. Join us next week for another edition. Let me say, this program is open for sponsorship. You can place your advert, you can advertise your program, your product on this program. You can also sponsor segments of this because we need that kind of partnership to keep this program going. Let me say thank you very much, Udo Jude Ilo Esquire. I'm told I should not call people barrister so it's now Udo Jude Ilo Esquire, the head of office of Open Society Initiative for West Africa. Thanks for honoring our invitation.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Please stay safe and stay blessed. Now, see you around next week. Have a great day.